Americans like atheists better than Satanists, so that's something. We were looking at a survey.
That explains the thumbnail.
Yes, a survey of 1,000 Americans by YouGov on their various religions, and then broke that down further into denominations, how people view them as either very favorably, neither favorably or unfavorably, not sure, unfavorably, and very unfavorably. So that was interesting. And then we also we're going to look at some Lifeway research about new commitments to Christ and the importance of small groups and the downward spiral that those are going in, kind of a downtrend in participation in those, as well as church volunteering.
Well, really,
things like that. And then we're going to take questions, of course.
Yeah, we're going to take questions. So go ahead and put your questions. I can grab them and save them. Sometimes I miss one. Sorry, imperfect person here. But Jonathan, before we begin, the main thing that you just said that I want people to get is we're going to look at how a couple of articles, but one of which sort of gives us the data on how Americans feel in general about these different worldviews, as you said. And that, of course, is pretty interesting. The atheists did beat the Satanists.
They did. And
people like atheists more than Satanists, even though a lot of Satanists are atheists if they're non-theistic.
Yeah, and people like atheists better than Scientologists.
Scientologists were like at the bottom, right?
With the Satanists.
With the Satanists. Satanists were technically...
But the agnostics were viewed more favorably than they. So let's pull up...
okay, let's do it.
A little bit of that. It's slide 1, or I guess image 1 of those articles. I don't know if you have that.
Of course I have everything.
You have everything planned.
I'm like a Walmart, except I'll come to Portland.
Right.
All right, there you go.
So that's the wrong one.
Oh, sorry.
It's we're doing the YouGov headline.
Okay.
Yeah. So well, why is that?
That's not the right one? Wait, are they done wrong?
They're done wrong.
Bear with us, folks.
That's the Lifeway one.
That's the one you want, right?
Yes. There you go.
It's still not going to work? Yeah, there it is.
Yeah. Americans' views on 35 religious groups, organizations, and belief systems. A recent YouGov poll explores American attitudes towards 35 religious groups, organizations, and belief systems that encompass...
I'm making this easier.
The largest shares of Americans, including Christianity, Catholicism, Protestantism, and among the ones the most Americans view favorably, viewed least Catholicism and Christianity, Catholicism, and what does that say?
Protestantism are among the ones the most Americans view favorably. You're like, I'm catching it from you now. Yeah. Viewed less favorably are Satanism and Scientology.
I need to upgrade my readers.
I guess so.
This is having, so Christianity is still,
at the top.
At the top.
Christianity is by far the most highly favored belief system, receiving a net score of plus 34. Protestantism, the next most popular, falls 19 points behind Christianity at plus 15. Now, explain this, because, I mean, Protestants are Christians, right? So this is like saying Christianity in general, and then it's breaking it down further, right?
Right.
Okay.
So, well, that's because, as you'll see on the other chart, I believe that the...
So just go ahead and throw it up there.
Yeah, go ahead and throw that one up there. You'll see that Protestantism is like Christianity is kind of an umbrella thing, but then you have Protestantism, which ranks higher than Catholicism, interestingly enough. Catholicism still viewed favorably, right? But I think that's interesting because right under Christianity, you have Protestantism, and then you have the Amish. Like, everyone, if you live around here, we have a lot of Amish here. There's a lot of Amish in Pennsylvania. I noticed when I was traveling here recently. And, they've got their good buffets. They've got their furniture stores. They've got all of this wonderful stuff that they, their own culture that they kind of create. But then they share with the rest of us their culture. Mm-hmm. So, most people typically view the Amish as favorable.
Yeah, there's a lady not too far, a few towns over, who used to be Amish, and she will hook you up. Like, she will get you scheduled for a dinner in an Amish lady's house. So like you and a few other people can go. She'll sit there and tell you anything you want to know about the Amish and then cook for you. It's pretty cool.
Yeah. So and then of course, Judaism and Buddhism are also favored highly, by most. Now on that chart that you just showed, that is a combination. So in this, I think we linked it to in the description. But in this, most people, when they voted on this or where they ranked, the largest percentages went to either, not sure or not sure, but the neither favorable or unfavorable. So that had the widest percentages of all of these. If you look at deeper in the data, so this right here, what you're looking at on the screen is telling you of the ones that picked very favorably or favorably. That's a combination of that, how much they ranked above each other, and then it kind of cascades from there. And then, of course, it goes down to the other screen where you get into the negative, where the less favorably kind of you start to score in there. And then, of course,
starting to look like my desk.
It starts with or your office in general, unless I clean it, right?
That's right.
I heard you say something about that's kind of the task given to people who occupy the vice president of academic
I never
affairs.
released that clip.
Oh, did you?
My wife told me it was too mean, so I didn't release it.
But see, this is why you should. Go back to the Garden of Eden, right? Because you listen to.
It's the other way this time, right? I'm being nice because my wife asked me to.
Right, because see, I mean, I don't have. I thought it was funny. He played me this clip that he says, "Oh, I got to edit it out." But he played me this clip. It was about me.
Well, you were claiming that you clean my office on occasion, and I said, "Yeah, of course
I do."
This is a position that was created in the Middle Ages by seminarians. Then a role for your position, as you know, that because this is a weighty, kind of heady position that he's got, you've got to do something to sort of bring down the big head syndrome that he can get. And so, sometimes he comes in here and cleans in my office like that. I mean, I don't feel like I'm above him or anything. I mean, I'm literally above him when he's like on the floor cleaning, but I would never mean like metaphorically. I think of myself as above him. And but look, he's willing to serve like that. I'm willing to serve. I'll get my hands dirty. Not literally dirty like he does when he's cleaning my office.
Yeah, but see, here's the thing. Here's the thing. Yes, vice president and janitor.
Yeah.
But every male that works at Trinity, all of us men, except for you, have a job.
That's my perk.
Yeah. So the only perk you get as president is you don't have to help clean the office. Oh. So I mean that's kind of.
And I love that perk. I'm not giving it up.
I know, because you're not not a servant leader like Jesus. We understand.
Not like Jesus. I've got a long way to go, but one day I'll be there. But you're closer. You should feel good about your situation.
I do feel so much more spiritually.
Look at you.
I have never rejected the notion that I am more spiritually and morally you're better.
Okay.
Right. But back to the negative thing, because the negative thing is interesting because
Well, I wanted to say real quick, Kevin Non-Tradicath, who's actually been making the rounds, I think, on some shows lately with his own YouTube channel, and we like Kevin. But he says, I'm kind of surprised that JW is lower than Islam, but he also said a minute ago something that I want you to speak to again. I asked you already, but like, he's pointing out that like in the same list, you have like Christianity, right? And then Protestantism, and it is treating them as separate thing. Or it's just saying, well, I mean, I guess in this kind of a list, you could put them. You could put them because you could say, "Look, here's how people feel about Christianity
in general,"
and then still.
But then when you ask them, but then when you ask them about specific denominations within Christianity, it's addressed in the article.
Jerome, you're here. The clickbait. I mean, it's not really clickbait. I mean, it kind of is, but it got you here, and now you're here.
No,
and your
pull
click
up
cannot be
the
revoked.
negative draft. We're going to prove that American people, according to the latest research, American people view atheism, that's the one. View atheism higher, more favorably, even though you're all viewed unfavorably by the people. You are still, you are viewed more favorably than Satanism down there at the bottom. Which Satanists, it looks like that they're tied with the Church of Scientology. So the majority of Americans still place atheism above Scientologists and Satanists. But what's weird is we have a lot of people in the Southern Baptist sphere that watch our program. By the way, Catholics are viewed more favorably than Southern Baptists, which kind of makes sense given a lot of the scandal and stuff going on in the SBC. But there was another thing, if you pull that chart back up one more time, for me. There was one other thing that I found interesting. The Wiccans are viewed less favorably than atheists, and that makes me happy, right? It really does. It makes me happy to see that atheism is viewed higher than Wicca. Does it not make you happy?
What do you mean when you say it makes me happy? I'd prefer they all be Christians.
Yes, but I would prefer people view atheism more. I prefer the result that they're viewed less unfavorably as Wicca, right?
Well,
I'm happy about that.
Well, and there's, here's the thing. You go back to the C.S. Lewis thing. Like, what do I prefer? This is like when Christopher Hitchens asked William Lane Craig, "Would you prefer I be an atheist or a Muslim?" And he's like, "I have no preference. I want you to be a Christian, right?"
Right.
But from an evangelistic point of view, I go back to that C.S. Lewis Christmas article that was uncovered
about it's easier to evangelize.
It's easier
pagan.
to evangelize someone who actually already has supernatural beliefs. Or beliefs that there is a supernatural.
Well, some atheists do have supernatural beliefs.
Well, yeah, but not most of the ones that we interact with.
I know, but they just lack a. Yeah, but not me, because the reason is I think the world is a different place than it was when C.S. Lewis was writing, because at least atheists, unlike Wiccans, will at least still see. If you've ever talked to Wiccans, and I've talked to several, not like dozens, but I've talked to several. Went to high school with everyone in high school. There's always that little group of girls that watched The Craft and decided that they wanted to be Wiccans or whatever, get into that kind of thing. And they're obnoxious, but as you see more and more Wiccans entering public space, you realize that atheists will at least agree with you. Most atheists, I don't want to say all atheists, but still agree on, let's use reason and logic and critical thinking and all of that. Whereas if you talk to a Wiccan, it's just a big mess of irrational gibberish.
Well, I didn't hear what you just said because I created a poll that says, "Are you an atheist?" Someone had said it'd be nice to know where the live stream stacks up to this thing. Well, I can't put together all these options, but I'm asking here, are you an atheist? If you are, you put yes. If you're not, you put no.
I have an easier time talking to atheists about things than I do Wiccans, because Wiccans are just a mess of. It's like it would be. They're not clever enough to be postmodernists. They're just spewing nonsense. So that's why that makes me happy that at least atheists are viewed. But of course, agnostics are viewed more favorably than atheists. So maybe there's something to this. The idea of saying I don't know makes you more palatable to most
Today,
Americans.
we live in a culture where the notion of discovering things through science and empirical stuff like that, the academic world that is focused on the STEM fields and things like that. That's kind of this is kind of the cultural flavor in the West at the moment, and so at least when we think about the institutions and things, and so I would not be surprised to see the average Joe, even if he identifies as a Christian or an agnostic, or let's say he identifies as a Christian, but he's nominally Christian. This is what we're saying, right? Most people. So then I would think that average Joe would hear atheist. Well, I know somebody who claims he's an atheist, or I got a son who's an atheist, or whatever. But then if you said a witch, the average Joe is going to be like, "No, man, we don't do that around here."
Yeah, and I still the United States, even though we talk about churches decline, belief is on the decline, rise of the nuns, all of that stuff is, but yet still Christianity by far viewed most favorably out of all these different types of belief systems. And so whenever you get down, if you're a Christian, about that, just remember that Christianity is still viewed more favorably than other belief systems in the United States. And in fact, outside of Buddhism and Judaism, I think all the other worldviews were viewed less favorably.